Welcome to a virtual Celebrate Black History tour at the High Museum of Art. The High Museum created this tour years ago because Black, African, and African American achievements have not always been celebrated as they should in the United States. In some cases, the history has been left out of history books and museums. This tour aims to tell those stories. All our stories are woven together, and all our actions affect each other. In the harmful parts of our history, such as slavery, segregation, and inequalities that still exist, and in the artistic, political, and social achievements that we will celebrate today. Black history isn't just one story, it's the collection of many stories. There are countless artists, leaders, and innovators that we could celebrate. We only have a short amount of time today, so we are going to highlight just a few artists. Be sure to check out the High's additional online resources celebrating Black history under the Learn tab at www.high.org. Today, we'll focus on portraits or images of people, real, imaginary, and spiritual. Let's start with the Sawe mask. This artwork is a mask or headdress made by an artist in the Mende Society in the country Sierra Leone in Western Africa. This mask is about 18 inches tall and 13 inches wide. The top half is carved, polished wood depicting a face with closed eyes, a small mouth, and small ears on each side. There are zigzag lines on the forehead and cheeks. The person's hair is piled on top of the head in an intricate braided style that comes to a knot at the very top. The bottom half of the sculpture is made out of braided raffia, or a fiber made from palm leaves or grass. The raffia hangs from the bottom of the wooden part of the sculpture and is twisted in sections. This mask is called the Sawe mask, named after the spiritual beings that protect and guide women throughout their lives. Masks like these are worn by a female dancer as part of a ceremony for girls when they are ready to become adults. The masks are worn by members of the Sandi Society. The Sandi Society is a politically powerful women's organization that teaches young girls how to become productive community members. They are part of the Mende people, which is one of the largest ethnic groups in Sierra Leone. This work is one of the few masks that are exclusively made for and used by women. The ceremony is a way for older women to teach young girls how to grow into responsible adults and become good community members. In this example, the dancer puts the mask over her head and wears a costume made entirely of raffia, like we see here. If we look closer at the face, the closed eyes represent dignity and inner strength, and the small mouth means she is able to keep a secret and will not gossip. What other features of the mask do you think represent a good community member? What are some of the ways that you have learned to be a good community member? Who taught you? Now, let's take a look at a work by an artist who is inspired by these masks. This is a small drawing, about 4 inches by 3 inches. The work of art is framed in wood. It's then divided by 2 smaller wooden frames, as if it could be closed, like a book. On the left side of the frame is a dark red fabric with a raised floral design. On the right side is a sheet of music notation paper with a small pen and ink drawing of a mask. The paper is stained and is a cream color. Around the drawing is an elaborate gold frame with designs that are similar to the designs on the left. What similarities do you notice between this drawing and the Salway mask? What differences do you see? Let's meet the artist. Radcliffe Bailey lives and works in Atlanta, Georgia. He wanted to find out exactly where his ancestors were from, so he researched and traced his DNA to the Mende people of Sierra Leone, where the Salway masks are created. He wanted to make artwork to show his heritage, so he created this small, what he calls, family portrait. Let's meet another artist who lived and worked near Atlanta, Georgia, and who also created portraits. Nellie Mae Rowe lived for many years in Vinings, Georgia. She made thousands of playful and beautiful drawings using materials like crayons and filled her house with her creations. She called her house Nellie's Playhouse. She even used chewing gum in some of her sculptures. Let's take a look at one of the portraits she created, called Star Woman. Why do you think Nellie Mae Rowe made this person's head into the shape of a star? If you were going to have a symbolic portrait made, what symbol would you choose? You can quickly sketch your own portrait with a symbol if you'd like. Portraits can be a powerful tool to send a message about a person. What message do you think Nellie Mae Rowe is sharing with us in this portrait? What do you see that makes you say that? Let's look at another portrait by a very important photographer, Dr. Doris Derby. In this black and white photograph, we see three people. The person closest to us is wearing a white uniform and a white hat. She is looking off into the distance. The person in the background is sitting down and is also wearing a white uniform. He has a stethoscope around his neck. We can barely see the third person, who is also sitting down. There is a refrigerator in the middle. If you were to use one adjective to describe the person in the foreground, what would it be? What's the mood of this photograph? What do you see that makes you say that? Let's meet the artist. Dr. Doris Derby made photographs as a form of activism and documentation during the American Civil Rights Movement in the 1950s and 60s. She did so to fight for equal rights for African Americans. Dr. Derby still lives and works in Atlanta, Georgia today. What do you think Dr. Derby wants us to notice or think about when we see this photograph? She took many photographs during the Civil Rights Movement and beyond. Do you notice anything in common with these photographs? What do you think Dr. Derby wants to show us through these images? She wants to highlight the role of women who sacrificed and put themselves in uncomfortable and at times dangerous situations to fight for rights in their communities. If you could photograph anyone today, who would you choose and why? We have time to look at one more portrait. What stands out most to you about this portrait? This oil painting shows us an image of a man with a pinkish red shirt and a white hat. He is staring directly at the viewer. Behind him are swirls of red and green. The frame of the painting is wooden and intricately designed. Who do you think this person could be? What message do you think the artist is trying to tell us about this person? Let's meet the artist. Kehinde Wiley. Kehinde Wiley was born in Los Angeles, California. His mother is African American and his father is Nigerian. Like Radcliffe Bailey, who looked to his past and traced his roots to Sierra Leone to inspire his artwork, Kehinde Wiley also draws inspiration from the past, but in a very different way. In this painting, titled Tiago Oliveira, he looked to older European portraits as inspiration, but then made some very important changes to send a message. How is this painting different from a traditional European painting, like this one? This portrait is not the one that directly inspired Kehinde Wiley, but it is similar. What similarities do you notice between these two portraits? What differences? Why would Kehinde Wiley have created a portrait in this style, but changed the race of the person and the clothes? Kehinde Wiley is also the artist for one of the most famous paintings in the world. President Barack Obama selected Kehinde Wiley to paint his portrait. Why would he have selected Kehinde Wiley? Why do you think Kehinde Wiley painted President Obama in this way? What do you think the background represents? What do you see that makes you say that? Now it's your turn. We have seen many different styles of art on our tour today. If you could choose one of these artists to make your portrait, who would you choose and why? It would be an honor to have your portrait made by any one of these amazing artists. As we have seen, Black and African American artists have contributed to our rich history of visual art, culture, and social justice. There are many, many more artists at the High Museum who have contributed to the history and culture of our world. We hope this tour is a starting place for us to learn and talk more about these important contributions. Thank you so much for your participation today. We look forward to joining you in the future for more virtual learning at the High Museum.